Can a failure to implement NIST password standards be the key factor that drives a $6 billion company toward collapse? As we've seen in a real-world example, the answer might very well be yes. I'm Josh Parsons, and today we'll unpack what happens when widely accepted security practices, like those outlined in NIST Special Publication 863b, are treated as optional rather than foundational. In late 2023, personal genomics company 23AndMe disclosed a data breach impacting 6.9 million users. But this wasn't a server exploit or a zero-day, it was credential stuffing, where attackers used previously leaked credentials from unrelated sites to log into 23andMe accounts. Once inside, they gathered sensitive genetic and personal data and posted it for sale on the dark web. Let's take a look at how it happened, how 23andMe responded, how they should have responded, and in the end, we'll look at what they could have done to prevent the incident altogether. The 23andMe data breach stemmed from credential stuffing. So hackers used real email password combinations, likely purchased or otherwise obtained from previous breaches, to log into roughly 14,000 user accounts. A 2024 Forbes report found that 78% of people admit to reusing passwords, which makes this type of attack very effective. 23andMe did not check newly set passwords for compromise, and in addition had no rate limiting on their login flows. So a single threat actor could try many username and password combinations to log in, with little to no restriction. Though only a small fraction of accounts were breached, 23andMe's DNA relatives feature amplified the damage. This opt-in tool allows users to view relatives based on shared genetic data. By accessing 14,000 accounts, the attacker harvested profile information for 5.5 million DNA relatives and 1.4 million family tree profiles, affecting 6.9 million users total, roughly half of the user base. So logging into a single account gave a single user authorization to see the personal data of countless other users. The data exposed included display names or nicknames, birth years and locations, reported gender and relationship labels, percentage of DNA shared with matches, and ancestry composition. This data is extremely sensitive. You can't just change your DNA. Exposure of heritage, ethnicity, and familial ties raises the risk of identity misuse and even discrimination. The breach became public when a hacker called Golem posted sample data on a dark web forum in October of 2023. The dark web can only be accessed through special anonymity preserving tools such as Tor, which routes traffic through multiple encrypted nodes worldwide, making users impossible to trace. The sample included 1 million Ashkenazi Jewish and 100,000 Chinese descent profiles, offered for between $1 and $10 per account. And this targeting by ethnicity raised alarms about possible political or discriminatory motives. Soon after, Golem claimed to have another 4 million profiles for sale. The hacker likely obtained the original passwords on the dark web, showing how these reused passwords can echo across platforms and time. So how did 23andMe respond to this breach? Well, on October 6th of 2023, the company publicly acknowledged the breach, which is a good first step. And in response to the attack, 23andMe began disabling certain aspects of the DNA relatives feature, also issued a mandatory global password reset on October 10th, started implementing rate limiting for login attempts, and sent detailed breach notifications to affected users. By November 6th of the same year, the company made email-based two-step verification mandatory for all accounts. And although these steps were a good start, they didn't quite address the root of the problem. Let's discuss what else 23andMe should have done to strengthen their response to this breach. First, screen new passwords against previous breach corpuses. NIST Special Publication 863b explicitly recommends checking newly created or reset passwords against lists of previously breached credentials. If 23andMe had enforced this practice during their response to the breach, as part of their mandatory password reset, it would have significantly lowered the chance of users reusing compromised passwords, thus reducing ongoing risk. Second, prevent credential reuse from undermining the other authentication steps. NIST defines authentication factors as something you know, something you have, or something you are. Email-based two-step verification is a broadly accessible authentication step, making it a practical choice for ensuring all users have a second step. However, since the accounts that were originally compromised were accounts that reused passwords, the chances that the same credentials are simply just reused on an email account are very high, since the data shows that users like to reuse passwords across many accounts. If the user's email has that same reused password, attackers could just easily intercept verification codes that are sent over email. And while 23andMe can't directly control the security of external email addresses, enforcing strong, unique passwords as the first authentication factor that 23andMe uses is important for protecting the integrity of an email-based second step. The third additional step they should have also taken is to monitor accounts for compromise. NIST explicitly recommends forcing a password reset whenever there's evidence that an account has been compromised. And there are many ways to monitor an account for compromise, but one way organizations can easily achieve this with the resources they have is by continually comparing existing user passwords against the same breached corpuses that they obtain from some source, aggregate, etc., that they use to set secure new passwords. Since breaches occur constantly, previously safe passwords can become compromised at any time. Detecting these compromised passwords proactively and enforcing immediate resets is crucial for maintaining ongoing account security. And as a bonus, NIST recommends enforcing password resets if there is evidence of compromise, rather than the arbitrary 1 month, 3 month, 6 month password resets that are time-based that we may have seen before. So this is a change that users will get security benefit from, but also it reduces user friction, which is fairly rare in security to see something that not only makes things more secure, but also makes things more usable. Let's bring this back by talking about how 23andMe could have prevented the breach in the first place. The steps that 23andMe took in response to the breach, in addition to all of the steps I've outlined, are good steps but should not have been reactive. Had 23andMe proactively implemented these steps, including the foundational NIST guidelines and best practices, the credential stuffing attack likely never would have succeeded, or at the very least it would have been dramatically contained, and none of us would have likely even heard about it. As we've seen, a reactive approach to security is not enough, and for 23andMe, failing to proactively protect user data didn't just lead to technical consequences, it triggered serious financial and legal repercussions as well. The company filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy on March 23, 2025, following the fallout from the breach. Credential stuffing might seem low-tech, but when systems are built without modern password standards in mind, it can become catastrophic. This was a privacy violation at the genetic level. Your DNA, your heritage, your family ties, those are yours and they can't be reset. That makes it all the more critical for companies to embed strong authentication, real-time compromised password checks, and intentional authorization design from the start. And that applies to all companies and all organizations of all sizes and in all industries. And this breach shows that, especially in cybersecurity, what you do before an attack matters far more than how you respond afterward.